Well, here we are. It is Friday, April 17th, and this is the weekly video. Every week we sit back and take a look at what's been going on in the Asian art auction market and a little bit in the American furniture market and carpets and textiles and whatever comes up that looks interesting to us. And this past week, there hasn't been a lot going on. As I said the other day, it's sort of in a quiet spell. There is a sale coming up in a couple of days, a few sales I'm going to remind you about that we talked about in the past. We'll go through some results today. And we're going to take a look at a few of the sales that are coming up over in Hong Kong. And it seems interesting that Sotheby's has something like 6 or 7 auctions coming up over there, which is a lot more than they've typically done in the past. So maybe they're going back into the antique business. Who knows? But there seems to be some changes. That Bonhams has got a sale, Christie's has got a sale going over there, and we're going to go through them and see what it looks like. But first, we're going to go through a few auction results from this past week, things that we've talked about in the past. Take a look and see how they did, and then we'll go on from there into the Hong Kong sales, which look pretty good, and there's some interesting collections. So stick around for that. And there's a blue and white jar coming up at Sotheby's. It may be, when we talk about cobalt, we talk about color a lot. Maybe one of the most perfectly decorated cobalt vases I've seen in a long time. The color is just spectacular, and we're going to get into that and take a look at a few more things. So stick around. Here we go. One thing I did want to mention before we get going, I've had a couple of people ask me every week, the old newsletter page that we started this website with, where we were showing items and listings from eBay, which no longer, frankly, is worth it to follow anymore because there's nothing on there. The number of items that have turned up on eBay on a weekly basis that are good auction lots to look at are pretty much kaput at this point. There's a few sellers on there, still on there, that are selling a few things here and there. But in general, as a source, I think it's fairly much a dead site at this point. And I don't see it turning around. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. So what we did was we took the newsletter page that we started. We're in volume 626. So we do it once a week. So we've been doing it for about 12 years. We refitted it, and each week what we're doing here is we put a link to the video, of course, the weekly video, and then we're adding articles that we find that we read during the week that you folks might enjoy reading. Most of them are written by very interesting academics from all over the world. This one has to do with paintings of the China trade. We every week we change it, just so you know. If you don't subscribe to the newsletter page, you might want to. They're never long reads. They're usually 10-minute reads or so, but loaded with good information. That's the point of it. And at the bottom of the page, we've added a section. If you go all the way down here, you have lots that are coming up on live auctioneers, for example, and these are generally just a smattering of the things that are available on the global member pages or on the global member pages through the Patreon side of things. So if you're thinking of getting it, it's a good thing. And if you join Patreon, keep in mind, a couple of people have asked me, there are no ads. YouTube has ads on all of their videos. If you don't like the ad breaks that they do, if you join Patreon, it's cheaper than joining YouTube on a monthly basis to avoid the ads. You can do that, and you can see all of the videos we do, and we do extra videos over there, at least 1 or 2 a week. That we don't put on YouTube. These are for the subscribers, and they're a little more informal and a little more, they're a little different. They're a little different, but a lot of people seem to enjoy them, so there we go. All right, now, what's coming up? These are some results. A few weeks ago, we talked about this Japanese bronze, and I was very interested to see how this would do because we talked about it. It was estimated at just like $600 to $1,200. And as you know, the Japanese things have been getting a bit of traction lately. So I was really interested to see how this does because this is a very nice 19th century bronze. Well cast, deeply cast, nice patina on it. And in the last, 10 years ago, a bronze like this would have sold for probably around $600. Not anymore. The prices are changing over there. This one sold for $3,200 plus the buyer's premium. So it ended up going for a little over $4,000. All right. And this is something we are seeing more consistently now with Japanese works of art. Slowly getting to across the board. Early porcelains are doing well. Early bronzes are doing very well. Bronzes in general are doing well. And even some of the Amari that has been really in the dumps for the last 15 or 20 years from the Meiji period, I'm noticing a slight bump there as well. But the early stuff, the 18th century material, and the 17th century material seems to be getting a lot of attention. And we saw also the Hokusai, the Great Wave, which has always been a high demand print. There was one that sold a few months ago, you may recall, for $2.5 million, which I think is a record for one of those. Another one just sold for 2.1 million or 2.2 million during Asia Week. So it tells us that normally the prices that those prints were bringing in the past were in the million to million, 800,000 to 1 million for a really good one. And now suddenly they're 2.5 million, 2 million. So we'll see where that leads. But it is an indication of a change in the market, just like the changes we're starting to see on really good Chinese export wares. And then over to this, that big 18th century fishbowl that we talked about. I talked about it a bunch of times just because I thought it was so nice. And I think somebody got a great buy. It went for $3,900 with a $3,000 to $5,000 estimate. I thought it would go over the estimate because I thought it was such a good example. And there have been many examples in the past of nearly identical ones to this one selling for 5, 6, 7, 8,000 and up. So I think somebody got a great buy on that. That was a good buy. And this was down at, who was this? It was Alders and Ogletree, which is a good place to buy things. They get a lot of good Chinese export, and occasionally you get a good buy a really good buy out of there for some reason. I don't know why. I bought there several times and been extremely satisfied with what I ended up spending. And as you all know, I'm kind of a cheapskate, so keep that in mind. All right. And then over to this. This was that very, very fine China trade lacquer box we talked about. It was estimated at $700 to $900 with the buyer's premium. It ended up going for about $1,150, $1,200. This was down at Neal Auction Companies in New Orleans. It was a great box. This is a really good box. I hope one of you bought it. It was in nearly perfect condition. It was a game box. Here are all the card holders for all the different playing cards. It still had some mother of pearl counters, and you can buy mother of pearl counters. Incidentally, there's a number of very good dealers out there on the internet that sell counters. So if you're missing some, you can always get them. And it was all nicely fitted. And this was a terrific buy. I thought that was a good buy. I don't think it was overpriced. If it had gone for $1,800 or $2,500, I wouldn't have been terribly shocked. But somebody got a good buy on it. And then there was this. Now, this was the Bonhams sale down in Australia, and they had pretty good results. But of course, the difficulty now with if you're buying Chinese things from Bonhams in Australia or from any auction house in Australia, you got a distance problem, and you got the tariffs. So if you're in Australia, take advantage of it, because you've got a leg up on everybody from around the world, because shipping out of Australia is incredibly expensive. And they have very severe box limitation sizes if you're planning on using any postal service. I think it's length, width, and girth can't exceed 72 inches, which isn't a terribly big box. Most places around the world, they accept almost double that size, but into the mail system. In Australia, they don't, and maybe because of cargo space on planes, I don't know, but they have sort of a very expensive shipping, and then you have the tariff to deal with. So somebody paid about $573 for this. This is a late Qing a double dragon dish with the waves in the middle. It's beautifully done. It has wonderful color. The iron red looks good. The enamels, they're all surface enamels here, or over glazed painted enamels. I don't see a lot of wear to it. It's got a very appealing wave section in the middle, because dragons are often depicted with waves, either ascending into them or descending into them or ascending out of them. They're usually going straight up or straight down or circling. And this is sort of the design here. So what you have is dragons in the sky with all these clouds behind them circling over the water. And it's a very attractive dish. And I don't think the price was outrageous. It ended up being in U.S. 800 Australian is about 570 U.S. because it's trading at 60 or 70 cents to the U.S. dollar right now. So it was 573 U.S. dollars plus premium, or around $700. Pretty good plate, measured just about 12 inches in diameter. And then over to this. Now, this was interesting. This was at New England auctions, and this is a 19th century Chinese erotic pillow book. And these were very, very popular at one time. There's a whole bunch of pictures in here, and they're a little risque, as you imagine, if you've ever seen one of them before. But they're beautifully painted. They're very beautifully painted, very sort of innocent in the way they're done, and I just think they're wonderful. And it was estimated at just 1,500 to 2,500. Thought that was a very, very modest estimate. To people that collect these, that was Fred Giampietro runs New England Auctions. I think that was just his way of saying, let's see, what was the sale day? Oh, there it is, April 15th, just a couple days ago. It's his way of saying we're there to sell it. So with the buyer's premium and everything, this ended up being upwards of $8,500, $9,000 for the set. And there were 12 paintings in the set. So that's not bad, really, $700 a picture. But a very nice result. And those were good pictures. They'd be wonderful to frame and hang in a boudoir somewhere. And then coming up, is this very attractive tureen and undertray. And this is, I believe, this is the Nordblom sale. But notice the intensity of the color. The handle on the tureen is intact. A beautiful deep well platter that goes with the tureen. And it's only estimated at $400 to $600 with a $200 starting bid. There are about 15 people watching it. And this sale is on the 19th in Cambridge, Massachusetts, at Carl Nordblom. He's a very good auctioneer, incidentally. If you don't know Carl, everybody in New England knows Carl if you buy antiques. He and Karen Phillips, who run the place, and they've been around forever. I remember they were doing auctions back in the 1970s, early 70s, and they've always done good sales, nice people. So anyway, you can take a look at that. They're very easy to talk to if you want to call them. And this sale is coming up in 2 days. It's coming up on Sunday. There's other China trade pieces in the sale. So if you're a China trade buyer that likes very high quality China trade wares from the late 18th and early 19th century, you want to check out that sale. And then hopping along over to this. This is a nicely done but mismarked rug. This is at Newey Auctions in what's this, Beechwood, Ohio. Newey Auctions does some pretty good sales once in a while. I like some, not once in a while, they always do a good job, but this is a nice rug. This is a Caucasian rug. This is not a Kurdish wool dragon carpet. This is a Caucasian rug. All right, and it's got a very unusual aspect to it. It has a yellow, mustard yellow background, which makes it quite desirable to the rug world. It's not a huge rug. You could fit it anywhere. It's 3 by 5'10". So it's a great scatter rug. It looks to be in good condition. It dates to the last quarter of the 19th century. It's got nice color. It has its complete ends all the way around. It's been oversewn here on this end. This would have been the top of the rug when it was coming off the loom. So they knotted over it. The estimate is $500 to $1,000 with a $450 bid. Reasonable price, reasonable estimate. If you've been looking for a nice Caucasian rug or a rug with very nice colors to fit into a specific spot, this is a rug to go after. It's very attractive. And then you have this. This is coming up at Nadow's. Nadow's, that very nice sale coming up on the 25th. A few days. It'll be before we do the next. Well, just about. It'll be next week. Today's the 17th. This is coming up on the 25th. This is a reminder of that sale. They have these very nice tobacco dishes. There's a nice, good size. Late Ming bronze, seated official bronze in that sale. I think it's 16 inches tall, and it's got like a $400 to $600 estimate on it. Check out that sale. It also has that. That's the sale also that has the transitional period brush pot that they've estimated at $200 to $400 or something, and I think it's going to blow that estimate to pieces. But there's some other things in there, so go check that sale out at Nadow's in Connecticut. And there's the brush pot. That's the brush pot. Yeah, $200 to $400 estimate. It's up to $800. It's got 104 people watching it. This is not this is a mid 17th century pot, It's a very, very nice pot. We've seen them in the past. One not too unlike it sold up in Maine, I remember, because I got involved with help working with the auctioneer to help them identify it. And it sold for $65,000 10 years ago. I don't know if this will get to that one. That one came out of a very interesting estate, but you want to check this out. This looks like a very, very nice brush pot. We looked at it very, very carefully. The bottom of it looks absolutely fine. The decoration looks good. There's some enway decoration in here, which they often did on these pots. A little bit of incise lines at the bottom and at the top as well. And that's a very typical treatment they did on transitional wares mid 17th century. So look at that, but don't expect to get it for anywhere near $800. Assume it's going to bring 20, 30, 40,000, who knows where it's going to go, but it's got 100 people watching it, and it's that number will increase by next week. And this is the bronze. Oh, there it is. This is the bronze that's coming up at Nate House. Very, very attractive. It is a big bronze, 16 inches tall. It's got a nice looking surface on it. It doesn't appear to be a repro or anything. The details are very good on it. And the estimate is only 500. Well, it's estimated $500 to $1,000. It's got a couple of bids. It's got 43 people watching it. I expect it to bring 2,000 to 3,000 at least. But who knows? You don't know. Leave a bid. I always say that. I did a video for the Patreon page this week about something I had bought, and I left a bid on it. That's all. Because it's easy to bookmark something, say, well, I'm going to come back and leave a bid on it, and people forget. They get tied up doing life. Stuff happens, and suddenly you missed it, and the lot closed, and it went for a price way below what you would have paid for it. Whenever you're on a site and you see something, bookmark it and immediately go to the auction house's website if you have an account there. If you don't, create one, because you save money, as I always say, on the commissions. And just leave a bid. Just leave a bid. If you're a busy person and you're prone to forget things, just leave bids. Always leave bids. All right, and then there's that rug again. Hold on. This is the other rug. This is a really nice Haji Ajala Tabriz coming up at, this is coming up at Freeman's on the 23rd. If you're looking for an absolutely elegant carpet for a house, this is it. This is a late 19th century rug. The colors are spectacular. Jalil Tabriz's are among the most desired. They wear very well. They don't wear out quickly. They're not quite as tough as Bijars, for example, but they're a lot tougher than most rugs. So they're great to have it in a living room or someplace like that. This one doesn't have any apparent wear. It's 9.5 feet by 13 feet 4 inches long. Be a spectacular dining room rug. Very, very nice, very elegant. If you're looking for something of high quality with good dyes, beautiful patterns woven into it, there's an enormous amount of work in this rug. That was the thing with these. The intricacy of the floral patterns, the mixing of ground colors, all of that stuff make this a very interesting carpet. And it's only estimated at $3,000 to $5,000. All right, that is for nothing. In the 1990s, we had rugs like this, and if we had a rug like this, we would expect it to bring 15 to 20,000 all day long without any trouble, and maybe more for a 19th century one. It's a nice looking rug. Freeman's on the 23rd, it's coming up. So if you're looking for a great rug, get it. And this is just a reminder of the Freeman sale coming up on the 21st, coming up in, excuse me, it isn't in a week, it's in a few days. This is that online only sale that we did the video on earlier this week. Just a heads up, it's in 4 or 5 days, next Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday. So don't forget that. This is that very nice Japanese pot that's on there, 17th century, nice color. Should do pretty well. Now, I want to take a look at, this is Bonhams, and this is in Hong Kong. And this starts on May 4th. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. And this is a rather nice looking sale. They've got some very, very good small jades. If you're a small jade buyer, you want to look at them. Some of these are very early Western Zhou jades and that sort of thing. Yuan Dynasty jades. Lots of great little jade pendants. And the good news is, if you buy them over there, you're going to have a tariff. Bring them in the U.S. If you're in the U.S. If you're in Canada, not so much, or somewhere else, not so much. But they're small, so the shipping isn't a big deal. The shipping is not going to be like shipping a big pot. So if you're a jade collector, you can probably pay attention to that sale. But there's some other things in here that are quite attractive. They have some very nice bronzes. There's a nice wood cut. We'll go through it. There's a few pieces in here I've set aside. One of them is this nice Kangxi period Familiar brush pot. There's a pile of script on the back of it. This is a very nice pot. Very, very attractive, beautiful white ground, and then framed in black and light, sort of a translucent green. It's very, very pretty. The estimate is 13 to 19,000 US. Should get there. These brush pots have been doing very well in the last year or two, as you know. We're seeing it. Even the bamboo brush pots seem to be coming back. There's an awfully good looking bamboo brush pot coming up. I think it's at Sotheby's. There's a few of them, and I've noticed they're now starting to get some traction in the market, because scholars' objects are always popular, but brush pots have been sort of, the carved wooden ones have been sort of in a little bit of a slump for a while, I guess. The porcelain scholars' objects, table objects, have all done great, but for some reason wooden brush pots seem to be a bit of a laggard in it, so maybe that's going to change. Anyway, the markets are always shifting, as I keep saying, but we'll see how that does. All right, so you got that, and then you have this very, very nice Fangzhou Gui bronze. It's a very nice bronze. It doesn't have a huge amount of patina on it. It's got a nice dark patina. There's not a lot of incrustation, but it's a very beautifully cast one. A spectacular casting, very nice quality. And these bronzes have been doing very well lately. So we'll see how it does. These early bronzes have had a lot of interest. This is a Western Zhou example. It's estimated at $150,000 to $230,000. There was one just recently that had that very thick patina. You remember we talked about. I think that brought a bit more, but the patina on it was phenomenal, and it was very nicely done. So it does impact the value a bit, but this is a really fine one. It measures about 8 inches, 9 inches tall, roughly. They're not terribly big. These are not great big table objects. These are fairly small, modest size, about that big. So that's something worth considering if you're a bronze buyer and you have pretty deep pockets. And then there's the very rare wood figure of the Shakyamuni Buddha. This one is, how big is this thing? I want to get the size right. Did they even put the size in there? Did they leave it out? There it is, 23 centimeters high. Okay, they did put it in. That's about 9 inches in height, but it's a wonderful, wonderful example. It's got a great sense of power to it. The surface is very nice. There's good patina in the wood, and so forth. And let's see, what else are they saying about it? Anything? Liao Dynasty, which many of you probably already know. No, that's it. There's an extensive footnote down here about the history of these wooden Buddha sculptures, which is pretty interesting. Always read the notes in these auction houses put into when they have an interesting lot. They often write little essays and bring somebody in who's a specialist, or somebody that works in the department who's a specialist, and they write very informative essays. As a matter of fact, I took one of them from the last Sotheby sale for a lot they had, and I used it in the newsletter page over on Bitamount because it was incredibly well written, and had lots of good illustrations. So it's a very good source for knowledge. And then there's this very lovely large yellow glazed bowl dating to the market period, Zhaijing, Ming Dynasty, 17th century. This is a spectacular looking bowl. The shape is perfect. The color is wonderful. So very nice, semi-bright egg yolk color. There it is. There's the mark on the bottom. And this one had sort of an interesting history, as I remember. I believe this came from, it was owned by Mayuyama Company in Japan. If you don't know about Mayuyama, they are one of we talked in the past about a lot of the Western dealers who are so good. Eskenazi, you all know, Marchant's, in New York, there's Chait Gallery, and these folks who were very good. They sell great things. But in Japan is this company, and Mayuyama, and they have a very nice website, and they have spectacular things. They do a lot of research, and they cover a very wide range of Chinese and Asian art, and they publish on their site very good flipbook and catalogs from their exhibitions. They do an exhibition every year, but they handle great stuff. This is the kind of stuff they handle, and it's a wonderful piece. So do check that out. This is a beautiful bowl. It's estimated at $64,000 to $100,000, but it's top quality, wonderful color. And if you're in the market for something like that, this is your chance to get it. It measures what is it, about 6 inches or 12 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches in diameter. This is a big bowl. That's a nice big. That's a center bowl, and it's beautifully done. And then over here to this is the moon flask that they've got. They've got a nice blue and white Ming style moon flask. It's dated to it's got a Qinlong mark on it. It's Qinlong marking period. And you may remember a couple weeks ago we did the video on fakes and copies. This is one of the most faked vases ever produced. In the world of shenanigans, this is one of the leaders, I think, on the leaderboard for one of the most copied. This and Yuan Dynasty jars and chargers, I guess, but they make a lot of these. But this is a real one, and you can go over to it and you can zoom in on it and really get a good look at the cobalt decoration. This one is beautifully decorated, and I think the estimate's a little bit on the modest side. We'll see, unless there's something with it that I'm not seeing. But the heaping and piling effect, the Buddhist symbols going around the outside, the handles the handle looks good. I don't, maybe they've been restored or something. I don't know, because the estimate struck me as being a little bit soft. 700 to 800,000. Because in the past we've seen these sell for over $1 million. So we'll see. Maybe they're just putting conservative estimates on it to encourage competition. I don't know. Or maybe they've come down a little bit. But this is a good, very, very attractive example. And it measures just a little over almost 19 inches in height. It's a big piece of porcelain. It's beautifully done. We'll see how it does. And then this is the Sotheby section that's coming up. And if you go to Sotheby's site right now, you'll see it. Some of the sales are not yet posted. They're just they have the preview button. Oh, but there's also a sale coming up of a painting at Sotheby's. And maybe it's the first one. I'm not sure. No, this is the Minio collection. We've seen if you've heard the name. In the past we've talked about him. Minio was one of the great dealers in Japan. For many years, he had a couple of stores. He was a member of the Oriental Ceramic Society. He built a heck of a reputation. He started out really more as a collector. He came from a well-to-do family. They were in the sake business. I think were they sake brewers or soy sauce brewers? They were brewing something. I forget what it is, but that's where he started. And then he ended up in the business world. He didn't like it very much, and he went in. He'd been appreciating art and so forth, and he ended up opening a gallery back in the 1970s. He grew it and grew it and grew it. Then he opened another one, and he had a spectacular career. And he passed away, sadly, in 2023. And ever since then, the two big auction houses in particular have been selling off pieces of his collection, and you'll see a sale you go back and look, you'll see a sale at Christie's and then one at Sotheby's, and one at Christie's and one at Sotheby's. And they're sort of going back and forth. This time around, it's Sotheby's turn, and they have all these very, very nice Buddhist stone carvings and bronzes. This is a very interesting sale. If you like early bronzes, you like early stone carvings, Wei period, Tang Dynasty, all that stuff. You might want to check and Han stuff. You might want to check this sale out. There's some awfully good things in here. Some very, very nice things. It's not a huge number of lots. I think it's around, what is it, about 50, 60 lots? 301 to... Yeah, 51 lots, 251. But it's a good-looking sale, and there's a lot of good information here, as always, with all the Sotheby sales. So take a look at it. And then over to this. This is really interesting. I am dying to see what this thing brings. This is one of the most important paintings that Giuseppe Castiglione ever did, also known as Lang Xining. You may know who he is. He was a Jesuit who was in China, and he became a friend of the court, a favorite of the court, actually, in the beginning of the Yongzheng Emperor. And this is the original first painting that he ever did for the Yongzheng Emperor. It was given to him a few months after he became emperor and ascended to the throne. It's been in private collections. It ended up with the great grandson, nephew, whatever, Pu Yi, who sort of had this very difficult life when the imperial house fell, because he was no longer could be emperor, and he was held by he was in the hands of the Russians for a while, and he ended up going through a re-education program. But he had some great antiques, and over the years he sold them, he traded them, he gifted them to people. Some of his cousins and stuff came to America with some of the pieces. But this painting got passed along, and there's a very extensive provenance to it here. Go read it. It's really interesting, and ended up being gifted to friends and so forth, probably for favors and assistance to help them with things. The estimate on it, they're not giving one. They're not giving one. But this is a very historic painting. It's a beautiful painting, and it was just the first of many that Lang Xining or Giuseppe Castiglione did for the court, for not only the Yongzheng emperor, but also for the Qianlong emperor. And he's buried in China. When he died, he was buried there. He became a huge fan of Chinese culture and art. And they studied the way he painted in China, because he painted in the European style. So you'll notice in here there are lots of shadows and depth, three-dimensionality to the painting, which isn't typical with a lot of Chinese works. Most of their art tended to be fairly flat. You rarely see shadows, that sort of thing. And they found his style of painting to be absolutely fascinating, and they appreciated it. And he did this. And many of you have seen this before. It's been exhibited. It's been in museums. It's been in books. It's one of the great paintings. And you have this absolutely splendid early Yongzheng, probably Yongzheng period monochrome vase. And like I said, I think this was 8 months after the Yongzheng emperor came into office. What should it bring? I should think it would bring at least $10 or $20 million. That's my view of it. Maybe I'm crazy, but given its importance, it's the first one. It's early in the Yongzheng era, and it represents the start of a real fascination in Western art by the Chinese painters of the day. He had enormous influence on them. So, as an icon of the period, I'm very interested to see how this is done. We'll get back to it. Maybe it won't sell. I don't know. Maybe they have some crazy estimate on it, and it's not going to sell. But it is extremely important picture. We'll just leave it there. All right, and then over to this. And this lot of the painting, by the way, is a single lot auction. There's nothing else. This is the only one. It's called Auspicious Lotus for the Yongzheng Emperor, and it's the only one, the only item in the lot, and the only lot in the sale, rather. And then over to this is the flourishing treasures of the flourishing age, mostly Ming Dynasty, and it's a Song de Tang collection of Ming porcelain. And there are some absolutely splendid pieces in here. It's not a huge number. There's like 28 lots. But if you want to see the best of the best of the best, a nice sampling of them, this sale has it. The first thing is this is very nice Long Quan Celadon jar. Very, very rare, beautifully done, very evenly glazed. It's not a form you see very often, and it dates to the early 15th century, roughly. I forget how they date. They had a funny way of dating it. Slightly, and I think they saw. Oh, there it is. Hung Wu to Yongle period. So it was somewhere. Hung Wu was at the end of the 14th. Excuse me, the end of the 14th century, and Yongle is the beginning of the 15th century. So they overlap. They're overlapping this one a little bit. It's extremely beautiful. It's estimated at $1 to $3 million, $3 million Hong Kong, which is around. That would make it about 150 to $200,000 or $300,000 estimate. Very attractive, nice thing. And how big is it? They're not very big. It's probably 6 inches. It's about just a little under 8 inches in height. They're not terribly big. And then you have this really beautiful Junyao lavender glazed dish. There are lots of Junyao wares around from the Ming Dynasty. They're not that rare, but when they're done this well with this color and this perfectly glazed, they have the darker rim, and then it shades lighter, and it's beautifully potted. It makes it a pretty rare bird. Here's a profile of it. And it probably dates to the fairly early Ming Dynasty. Where'd it go? Come on. Oh, there you. It's a tiny picture. No, it's not gonna let you open it up. Look at that. Okay, Sotheby's. Maybe it's getting too much traffic, but yeah, it's not opening. I don't know why. Any rate, it's a rare thing. It's estimated at 2 to 400,000 Hong Kong. So that it's not an unreasonable ask. They're estimating it at 25 to about 25 to $50,000 for it. But it's got a beautiful glaze on it, nice profile. So check that out. And then there's this. This is a very rare thing. It's a Young Low period charger. This is a big piece of porcelain. It's not a it looks in the picture like it's a fairly small dish. It's not. This is a big porcelain. It's 45 centimeters in diameter, which is about just a hair under 18 inches or so, but very nicely painted. And examples like this are in some of the Osaka Museum has one very similar. But the Young Low period, they were putting great amounts of order into how they painted things. Very elegant, very refined, very smooth, a bit different than the previous periods, and intense cobalt blue. All right, the cobalt blue in this is extremely dark, but very controlled, and you can tell that how controlled it is by the way the finer drawing is done and how is just stays very neatly, very painterly, almost like it was done with a pointed ink pen. Beautifully done all the way around. And again, there's a let's see if we can enlarge this one. There we go. No, they seem to be having a problem enlarging pictures over there today. Anybody at Sotheby's is watching this, you got a problem on enlargements. I don't know where the heck it goes, but at any rate, there's that. And this is the thing I talked about at the beginning with the amazing cobalt. This is just a knockout of a jar. It's estimated at 2 to 4 million Hong Kong, so they know it's pretty great. And it's marking period 1 Li. There's the mark on the bottom. But when you look at the color of this thing, all right, and 2 to 4 million Hong Kong, 2 million Hong Kong is about 250. It's estimated about 250 to $500,000, which I don't think is at all unreasonable. Because take a look at the color of this thing. This thing is splendid in the color of the cobalt. Look over in here on the side, how it's just so clear and pure. There's no grayness to it. There's no blackness to it. It's like a royal blue. The way the claws are drawn, they're done like spikes, very ferocious. And there are the waves coming up under them with the clouds and all that business. This is just a beautifully done jar, and it's big. It's 51 centimeters in height, so it's getting into the 20 inches tall range. It's a giant wine jar. It's absolutely spectacular quality. Here's another look at it, with the dragon looking back over his shoulder. And again, you have that same quality. And as you look at this, you'll realize there's no variations in the white ground, the glaze. It's beautifully done all the way around. You don't have any brown areas from overheating or anything. And the cobalt is extremely consistent. And this is very, very unusual for the period. Well, it would be early Wan Li, and early Wan Li pieces were done very, very well, sort of in the way Jing pieces were done. As the period progressed and the empire was getting into financial trouble and they were producing a lot of Wan Li export wares, the quality did slide a bit on some of those pieces, but the early Wan Li stuff is of this quality. It is extremely fine. It's beautifully done, and I absolutely love this jar. If I had an extra 500 grand to throw around this year, this is probably what I'd buy. I absolutely love the way this thing is done. It's so tasteful, it's big, and it's elegant. It's beautiful. It would look great on that Tabriz rug we were just talking about. And then this is an extremely rare Chunhua period jarlet. It's not very big. It's fairly small. It's like 5 inches or something. 4.5 inches tall. It's a very small jarlet, but it's Chunhua Marken period. There's the mark on the bottom, but the color is excellent. This collector had an exceptional eye, and a very particular eye for picking great color, and that was something we've seen in every one of these pieces that are in this collection. What they have going across the board are superb colors. which is very important. You can have Ming jars all day long, but if they don't have great color and aren't beautifully potted, they're not terribly interesting. But when they reach real high levels of great perfection during the Ming Dynasty, considering what they were working with to fire things, they didn't have thermometers for their kilns. They had to do everything by feel and look, and it was a very different time. So you have to really appreciate these for what they are. But this is an absolutely wonderful looking jar. Absolutely wonderful. And it's beautifully done. It's a flower jar. And notice again the colors. The cobalt blue is beautiful. It's softer. It's chinois, so you have soft colors. But you have very nice white glaze on the neck, on the upper part of the jar. Beautifully glazed, pure white, nicely potted. It's a very classic form for the chinois period, that squat compressed form. You'll see them on other pieces, but this one is a real sort of Rolls Royce of quality. And the estimate is 9 to 20 million Hong Kong. So they're estimating it's worth between $1.25 to $2.5 million. And we'll see how it does. Chinois pieces, as you know, always do well. There's some very famous examples of that in the past, we all know. So we'll see how this one does. But it's a very, very lovely collection. And like I said, it's not a huge collection. It's not a gigantic, endless collection. It's 27 pieces, as I recall. Yeah. And there's also this at the end, by the way. If you like interesting things, it's a piece of Junware imitating a scroll form vase, late Ming. It's Xuan. So he wasn't whoever this collector is. He's not a snob because he's got some Xuan ware in his collection. But look at the quality of this thing. And the glaze, absolutely great. And the estimate is very reasonable. The estimate is, if you want to get something, well, I think it's fairly reasonable. The estimate's a little crazy, actually. The estimate is 180 to 600,000 Hong Kong. So what they're saying in that is it's worth 20,000, or it's worth 4 times that. So it's worth between 20 and roughly $80,000. I think it's probably worth in the upper 20s or 30s, but it's superb. I've heard people say, well, they didn't make anything good in Xuan. It's all country kitsch, and it's pottery, and it's rustic, it's this, it's that. They don't know what they're talking about, because in the Xuan kilns they did some great stuff, and this is one of them. So check that out. I don't think it's an outrageous estimate. And how big is this thing? It's about a foot, just a hair under a foot tall, 11 inches tall. Beautifully done, beautifully done. So that's the Sotheby sale, and they have some other sales that are coming up, but they're not posted yet, so I'll have to wait until they come along. But they look pretty interesting, and they have one of their 5,000 years of Chinese art sales coming, which is sort of their version of, everything from very modest estimates, maybe a few $1,000s, up to sky's the limit. They put a little bit of everything in there. It's sort of a tradition there at this point. So anyway, that's it. That's really it for the week. And Christie's has got a sale too. You want to go to look at that. They're having a sale. I'm going to be really curious to see how they're doing. But Sotheby seems to have jumped back in with both feet. And in the Hong Kong office, and they've put together a bunch of sales, which is very interesting. So we'll see how they do, and hopefully Sotheby's gets away from the sports underwear and wristwatches and all that crap they've been selling lately, and get back to the art and antique world rather than being an annex of Macy's. They got to stop that. Anyway. That's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here if you haven't. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Join us over on Patreon if you want. We do something over there every other day or so, or every day, depending on what comes along. And have a great weekend. Spring is here. It's still only in the 40s here, but I heard from somebody in Western Massachusetts the other day that told me it was 80 there. So we're a little bit envious of that. But we'll get there. We'll get there. The ocean is still around 42 degrees, I think, here. It's pretty cold. The dog, Buck, was in the other day. He went with my wife over to the beach and with some friends, and he went swimming. He ducked himself twice over at the beach, over at Good Harbor Beach here in Gloucester. And he doesn't mind. Anyway, have a great weekend. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.